could see a dim light flicker across the door's bottom crack. While it did, I could hear Victoria's moans of pain. The voices grew louder, passing by my door, eventually fading into the distance. I cracked open my door to look out, which let out its signature creak. I was sure it would alert them, and halting it mid-swing, I could see the hallway was still quiet. I opened the door fully, taking a step outside. It was dark and absent a light. Under my shoe, I felt something wet. I took out my phone and used the backlight to get a better view. Some kind of liquid, maybe water. I was ready to believe this thought until I accidentally dropped my phone in it. I quickly grabbed it in a panic, wiping it off, but the liquid seemed only to smear. I took my phone back to my room to see it in better light. It wasn't water. It was blood. My heart skipped at the realization of this. I went back in the hallway using my phone's light again over the liquid. I could make out more of it leading to the stairs. The other end of the hallway showed the trail lead back to Victoria's room, which had its lights on. I swallowed hard and I walked toward it, trying to mentally prepare myself for the worst. I reached it and slowly edged my way in. There was blood there. A trail of it ran from the door up to her bed. The sheets were completely doused in red. I could smell her perfume mixed with smoke and the metallic smell of blood. I felt my stomach give in at the sight. Immediately, I vomited all that I'd eaten. I felt my knees weaken and give way as well, falling to the ground, dropping my phone in the process. I must have blacked out for a few seconds before regaining my awareness. When I regained consciousness, I noticed my phone's backlight about to turn to black. Quickly got up, horrified that I had been laying next to the blood. What happened in here? I grabbed my phone and glanced at the bed. A puddle of red soaked the lower half of the sheets. However, I noticed there was another spot, much smaller, forming near the pillow. I slowly reached for it, unsure of what I was about to see. I couldn't imagine anything worse, but I was wrong. To my dismay, I found a finger. A finger. It was clearly cut off with the tip of its bone sticking out of the reddish-colored flesh. It appeared to be Victoria's. It had to have been. Next to the finger was a small knife with its tip covered in blood. Why did she cut it off? I observed the finger closer and realized the ring, doused in red. She'd cut off her finger so that I would have it. The key to the congregation room. She must have done so out of desperation. I thought about the pain that she had shown from her contractions at dinner. She must have felt it. It was time. Time for the child. Those sick bastards were going through with their ritual. They didn't care about Victoria. The old woman was right. I had to do something. I promised her that I would get her out of here, that I was going to keep it. I hesitantly picked up her finger. It was still warm, and I placed it in my pocket with care. Racing out of the room, I came to a stop when I remembered the gun kept by Terrence. It was something I was probably going to need. His door was locked when I tried to open it, but I didn't care. I didn't have time to waste and began kicking it until the handle caved in. I pushed it open, running to the desk drawer where I had last seen the gun. I opened it and smiled. It was still there. I grabbed it, feeling its weight fall into my hand. With my thumb, I popped its wheel open and revealed 6 bullets lined in its chamber. Perfect, I thought, and tucked it into the back of my pants. And then I ran out of the room. I got to the bottom of the stairs and noticed that the lobby was dark. Scent of candles in the air. The trail of blood from earlier could be seen leading from the congregation room. I rested my ear upon the double doors to listen. It was silent. No voices or wails from Victoria. Something wasn't right. I tried the handle only to find it locked as it always was. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the finger. I checked the small indent on the door and placed it up against it and twisted it to the right, the way that I remembered Victoria doing so, and instantly there was a soft click from the door. I pulled at the handle again and could feel the door move. This was it. I placed the finger back in my pocket and peeked through the small crack. All I could see was darkness. I opened the door wider and was met with a warm breeze to my face. With it open, I could see a dim light flickering from the sides. I poked my head in first before completely entering. The light was coming from the candles mounted on the columns near the wall. With it, I could make out the room even more than I had the first time. The entire area looked older in the light. The walls appeared worn out, decayed, almost blackened as if burned. The columns appeared ancient and natural broiled, with cracks and fungus throughout. A deep scent of ash and moisture filled the air. I could now see the seated hues were carved from stone, similar to the columns. A few were split in areas, almost falling apart. The place looked like it had been there for centuries. The building must have been built around it. In the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a dark figure off to the side. A candlelight flickered across it, producing a vague outline of it. I swallowed hard, peering towards the thing with frightened eyes. Something was there. Something was there, and it was watching me. "Hello?" I called out softly to it. I could feel every hair stand up on my neck. "Hello?" I said again, my voice quivering. The figure gave no answer in return. I slowly walked to it, watching as the light flickered across it with the distance closing between us. I could see its pale face in the light. My heart plummeted. Empty black holes were present where its eyes were supposed to be. The mouth of it was gaped open wide, almost like it was screaming in terror, but no noise had come out. I was ready to bolt out of there until I noticed that it did nothing. Didn't even move. Cautiously, I approached the figure with my hands stretched out. I eased cautiously, half expecting it to lash out at me at any moment. Finally, I touched its surface. When I did, I took a deep sigh of relief. It was only a mask. I picked it up, revealing its disturbing features even more closely. I looked back at the wall to see the figure was in fact a black cloak of some kind. I pulled it off, releasing it from the hook, and brought both objects into the light. It was a cloak and a mask, all right, thank goodness. Was this what they wore during their ceremonies? I looked back at the wall to see several other empty hooks lined. Glancing back at the cloak, I noticed a fading image running across it. It's a symbol. Not like the one on the door. I recognized this one. It's an inverted cross. It had chains attached to it as well, hanging from its waistline. Must have been Victoria. Without warning, I was startled by the faint echo of a woman's wails. It was coming from further back in the room. I followed the noise, which brought me to the altar. At the top, I could make out a familiar sight behind the podium. It was the statue from before, still horrid to the eyes as ever. As I climbed the stairs, the image of the statue became more apparent. It still brought an eerie feeling to me, right down to my bones. I couldn't stand the sight of it, and I looked away as I passed it. Behind it, I saw the mouth of a cave. Reaching it, I could see it stretch deep down into the darkness. It was dimly lit by a few candles mounted on the walls, stone steps descending with it. I could feel a warm breeze flowing from it like the breath of a large beast. Every so often, a wail would echo from its depths, sending my heart into its own depths with it. This was crazy. How could all of this be in here? It was clear that all of it, was way over my head. I wanted to turn around. God knows I wanted to. With each wail, I thought of Victoria. I couldn't leave her to suffer. I glanced down at my hands to discover that I was still holding the cloak and the mask. It was a long shot, but I thought if I wore it, it would help me blend in. Even if it bought me only a few minutes, I could use whatever edge I could get. I threw on the cloak. I placed the mask over my face. I took one last breath and began making my descent. Hey there! The stairs felt like they would never end. I pressed onward, though, passing by one of the mounted candles every so often. In between them, I was left in utter darkness, the whim of my own footing. I took my time, walking down them, adding to the anxiety to reach the bottom. Voices began to echo from the abyss below, bouncing off the walls. Once again, I could hear their monotone words being spoken in unison, still incomprehensible to me. In the darkness, the words were even more nerve-wracking. It almost didn't sound human. The last of the stairs brought me to a large chasm. A few candles were mounted on these walls as well, but they weren't of much help. I could see their light reveal a set of different tunnels pointing in diverse directions. From here, it looked like I had to choose a path. But which one was right? If I chose wrong, I knew it would be nearly impossible to retrace my steps, especially in this darkness. The voices from earlier began to echo once again. Among the cave walls, they bounced all around, amplified by the acoustics. I focused on the sound, trying to pinpoint their origin. Finally, after several minutes, I was able to determine they were coming from the tunnel on the left, so I headed in that direction. The tunnel was completely dark, absent of candles. A few times I tripped on the rocky surface, but using the walls helped maintain my balance. I continued to stretch onward. All I could see was an endless void in front of me. As I walked, I felt the urge to stop, feeling as if I would smack into a wall or something. All the while, the voices continued their chanting, growing louder the more I pushed forward. Finally, I reached an opening. It was glowing, all the while producing a heat wave. I came to a rocky perch on the side. I could see another set of stone stairs curving down to the area below. I didn't need to take them, because it gave a good overview of everything below. I crouched and moved closer to get a better view. What I saw would forever be burned in my mind. Below, I could see 4 individuals standing in a square formation, each facing inward. 4 bowls containing an intense fire was set in between each of the individuals, forming together some sort of diamond. There were markings in red, producing an arrangement of symbols and designs behind each of the figures. I noticed how all of them donned the same cloak and mask as I was wearing. Each of them was slowly bobbing their heads, their hands clasped as if in prayer, except for one. The one was holding up a camcorder to film it all. Standing in the center, I saw a 5th person. This one wore a different cloak. It was pale white, more loosely fit than the others. The mask worn was black instead of white, almost as dark as the tunnel itself. If not for the light from the bowls, it would have looked like a faceless being. It had to be the Reverend. Each time he spoke out that strange language, the others would repeat it in unison. My eyes widened when I saw what was behind the Reverend. There was a stone table covered with a white sheet, and on it, I saw Victoria, clenching her stomach in pain. Every so often, she would let out an intense wail that filled the air. The white sheet underneath her was half soaked in blood. No one